Hello and welcome back to Satisfactory. We have completed our Big 6 and Big 4 buildings you see there in the distance. And I'm back here at the space elevator contemplating what I need to do to build the four things I need. You see there on the map where the Big 6 and Big 4 are and where we are. And well, actually I've moved since I took that snapshot. We have a whole bunch of space around where I am there, but we do have to lift it up a bit from the deck of the space elevator because you can see on the topographical map here that that kind of gets bigger. Let me take down the map real quick. And if you look at it from here, you can see that if we tried to build on this level, we would just run into sand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise our level up by one of our big power poles. One of these guys, hold on, 9, there, by a drone stand height, basically. But I'm not going to just toss it together. What we have is we have 4 independent production lines. And our work up until now has been build everything that feeds more than one of these lines. So each of these lines is now independent. They have common inputs, but nothing that I build from within here, for instance, crystal computers, only go into this guy and no further. So once we start building the assembly director system, I will build him and he only goes up. And I build him and he only goes up, and so on. The downside is if we build all 4 of these. This is 6 machines. We're gonna just overclock a manufacturer there. So 6 machines and 4 machines and 3 machines and 1 machine. This is really 2 sets of 7 machines. And if I was going to put each machine on its own 5x5 area, which is not actually a bad idea, that means we end up with 7 5x5s on each side. And what I want to do is I want to take all the components that make them. Let's take a look at our net imports here. This is, I believe, 22. Yes, 22 of these guys. So that's 11 on each side, or a line of 6 and a line of 5 on each side. If we put in additionally the fuel import for it, okay, that means that we have 6 drone ports by 2 on each side. So what I'm coming up with is we're going to put in basically 2 lanes of 5x5s, okay, which are going to be where we put things. So 7 of those in a row. And down the middle, a 4x5, so we have 4 lanes in the middle to run a vertical bus. Actually, let's put a 5x5 in the middle. Okay, so if we do a 5x5, it's going to not align properly with this. So 4x5 with 5 going that way. So line it 4x5s for a vertical bus and 5x5s on each side building things. And then outboard of that is 2 lines of 6 drone ports. Each one of those takes up a 5x5. And we're going to raise that. So the way I'm going to work out where things are is we're going to start off in the middle here. I'm going to put down, I'm going to need a 4x5 with factory colors real quick. So let's start with getting our blueprint designer down so he can fix up our blueprints. So the 4x5 in factory colors with just enough power underneath to make it useful. I'm going to do this from scratch. So we're going to be 4 wides, which means 2 of these down the middle. So 4 this way by 5 that way. So there's our kind of our center post for the 4x5. We go to 1 meter. And that indeed went in the wrong place. I probably ought to think about add-ons. One add-on I would have would be something that allows me to zoom out a rectangular area. So there's our 4x5, which will have our vertical belts, our vertical buses headed this way. Let's set up mergers for the vertical buses. I'm going to set up a whole bunch of them. Don't know how many we'll need. The bottom two we're not going to use. That gives us room to move things around. In fact, I'm going to reserve the bottom 3 levels here in case we need to do some jiggery-pokery. So there's our vertical bus. Would it be good to have something physical setting that up? Yeah, let's put some stackable poles underneath there. Oh, so I put it... Oh, I put these on the wrong one. Oh... If I put splitters on here, splitters here might mean I just tap off the bus easily. Oh, yeah. Now let's just make sure my remembrance of spacings is right. Okay, so when I tap off of it, I'll have to put the lifters in at the bottom and then run them up to clip in so we don't end up with these guys trying to fight over that center spot. And I'm going to not use the bottom 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put in 6. I probably could have done the vertical bus splitter as a blueprint, but it's actually so easy to just drop in here. So now if I want to tap one of these guys out, I just come in here and I say, lifter, I want you to come in like here. I want to be there on the ground. I want to be this way. And then we just roll it up and down until we find which one we want. And then we attach. And we have 2 levels down below, so if we need to put in one higher, I would put in a foundation, either 2 meters or 4 meters, to raise the belt in case we needed to do that. Okay, and you could always have them facing north and facing forward and backward, along with facing out. So that looks good. Power. I do want to run power along here and have it available. So we're going to start with Mark II wall outlets on the corners. And I am inclined to bring them to these center posts so that if we want to drag the post downwards, we can drag the power down with them. And in fact, I am just going to do this super cheesy like that. So now we've got power on the corners, and in the middle, we've got our vertical bus with probably a lot more splitters than we'll ever need. It's going to be kind of costly to snap these down, but we have a nice factory providing us with goodies. And this blueprint is 4x5 with V-bus, 4x6 splitters. Actually, let's, is there a good icon for a bus with a whole bunch of parallel things on it? Yeah, I'll use that. Conveyor belt, Mark IV, right? See, blueprint. So this is 6x4, 4x5 factory color. Okay, so to get us up to the level we want to be at, I'm going to put in a 5x5 concrete slab with power down here. Does that work? One, two, three, four, we're good. For V-bus, put that down on 8 for the moment. Why will it not let me go out here? That's not the power circuit we want to be using. Why won't it let me build where I want to build? Oh, wait a minute. No, that's correct. Okay, default alignment. We're just going to put you in place here. Come on. What do I have to do to get this in place? There we go. So in theory, these guys should snap onto the side of this. It's good to check this, because it is not snapping onto the side of this guy. He's trying to go to here. Oops, I had it for a moment. There we go. Okay, so that's what we'll have, but we're going to have it up higher. But to get it up higher, I need to use drone stands. Having a hard time doing the clipping today, or doing the connecting today. Okay, that sets my vertical. So this area in the middle, we obviously don't have the V-bus on this level. We get rid of him. And these guys, the tops are going to get replaced with a different kind of connection. I've had troubles before dropping things on top of those power nubs. I wonder if I can do something a little different here. I should have deleted the last one. Okay. Yeah, that's not going to work. Do I have just a pole? I need just a support pillar. Come on, unhighlight them, you. There. So just a support pillar. Want you on top of this guy, not on the bottom. Is that the only way to do it? So the support pillar has the same problem of having these nubs, which are going to give me a very, very small lift in the next thing up, which I do not want. I absolutely do not want. So I put the next level in before I put the pillar in. This is getting really irritating. I think this got worse with the 1007 patch that just came out. It's doing it every time now. So default 4 meters, do that. Delete the blueprint. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to download the save really quick and bring it in so we're not using the dedicated server to see if this is just a dedicated server thing. I will be back momentarily. Okay, so welcome back. We are just not in the dedicated server this time. And I'm hoping this will make it so we can delete things without having the stuff stay behind. So I need 2 blueprints. I've got the first one here. Now I think my blueprint library is kept separately organized. So this may not have all of the things from the main, well, no, I brought across the save and I've got the same blueprint stuff, I think. Anyway, so we have explicitly saved this guy. So I should now be able to go in here and say there, and you've got this. And if I deleted that as a blueprint, went here with 8, I should be able to say you. Clip in here, and it's being a pain in the butt again. Oh, mode default, mode blueprint. And it's trying to put it above where I put it before. I want to put it beside these guys, and it's not working. Okay, I can put it beside itself. I don't know why it worked on the diagonal. Delete you. And it doesn't remain highlighted. Yay! And I go to non-blueprint delete and delete these guys. So this is still a blueprint. And his extent still goes high, so I don't want to put anything on top of him. But we do have power connected to him. Now, what I want to do here is a little weird. I was talking earlier about having my vertically oriented bus going down through the middle, and my 5x5s for building on going down this way at this level, and then my drone ports at a higher level flanking them. And basically 24 drone ports, 2 of which are fetching fuel. Overkill, but symmetry is king here. And down here we have power. Well, what do I want for power? What I want to do is something kind of weird and kind of nice. I'm going to drop in an alien power augmenter right there. I'm going to orient him this way. And he is going to take up the 4x4 area at the back here. So coming out of his front, I don't know what goes in this thingy yet. That's yet to be unlocked, but there's his power. And I just need to connect the power down to the underfloor here, connect that out to these 2 guys, and then we're going to have support pedestals going up. And as mentioned earlier, I will be placing the thing above on top of this block, removing the block, and then inserting the support pedestal so everything stays on grid. So where do you line up? You line up see, on this direction. I'll put you on this line here, so center of the foundation this way. And how about center of the foundation that way, just to keep it real super simple. Two, three, center is here. Well, how about that? That actually lines up with that cable. And we're going to provide you power and you power. And because I like redundancy for no particular reason, there we go. Now, this gives you a plus 10% on your base power, but it also gives you some base power. So the one thing I didn't do here that I really wanted to do is I didn't give him a power switch. Priority power switch. Which means that his little nub down there is in the wrong place. I'm going to put it right below that intersection. There we go. Now the name of this is my Phase 4 elevator delivery production line. I'll call him Phase 4 delivery line. And he's going to be in priority group 8. So if the breaker trips, he's the first thing that gets turned off, and he's going to be turned on for the moment. And notice We don't have any consumption. This guy, neither side of this switch is connected to our main power grid. So this is a secondary power grid that has half a gigawatt on it right now. And it's separate from this grid, which is my main base grid. So this is just for this stuff. And we'll interconnect the two later, maybe. So the next step I want is, on top of this, I need my 5x5 manufacturing goodies. And I do not want blueprint mode. I want default mode because I want him centered on here in default mode. And arrow to the front. And he's all set. Let's do the other one while I've got this on my cursor. There we go. We get rid of these 1 blocks. So there's our, I think I'm going to reserve this for bringing belts in and turning them around and getting them going. And this guy, why is it continuing to go high on me here? I want to connect you side to side. Oh, blueprint mode. There we go. And the white arrow has to point back towards where we are delivering our output, so our input comes from that direction. There we go. So the first thing I notice is these guys are not on the same level. And I'm going to keep this level. I have no idea why that happened like that. Apparently I didn't get everything all set up right. So on this level, the job of these plates is going to be to bring the goodies down and make the turns, and then make the turn into here. And now we need to place our 7 of these going this way. Let's build this guy out first and get him connected up with power. Why is this being so difficult? So what I'm going to do is set these guys up on the corners on all of them for consistency and redundancy, to make them all work together. Oh, we didn't have power hooked up. Yeah, the vertical power isn't there yet, so I need to watch out. Yeah, let's get the vertical power in here. Blueprints. We need the support pillar, not the drone stand, the support pillar. It needs to go right in there. And you notice it's not letting me put it right in there. I come down to the edge here. And we can do that. Something's changed. It didn't used to be this difficult to get these connected up. And there's what happened, is I put the 4x4 block one block too high on this one. But that's okay. I can just shove this in here. And we are good enough. These are major power connections, so we are going to connect it all up just so it looks like it's something major. Totally unnecessary from a game point of view. One small wire gets us there. So middle stuff. I do not like the look of this guy poking through. I kind of like that look, though. I do like that look. So let's reorganize just for this guy. I'm going to move these power connections a little bit. Just this one floor is going to be around the periphery because we have a big hole in the middle celebrating our power thingy. In fact, I think I am going to do something a little more decorative. Let's leave the corners in. No, let's not. I'm going to make a nice rounded hole for him. So, architecture. We're going to pause our headlong thrust into building stuff, and I'm going to make a little bit of architecture here. We're going to do an inner core extension in Fix-It Foundation. Actually, let's do it in 4-high Fix-It Foundation. Whoops, I put him down. Where did he go? There he is. And now we go back up here to our half foundations. I can use Zoop to put in 2 of these at once. Except they got, how did that get to half? I don't like that look. I want 4 meter. There we go. There. So we have a rounded hole through which we poke the top of our thingy there. This could have been a little bit lower and it would have worked. Yeah, at some point we may drop glass walls down or something here. I'm not going to do it right now. That will come later when we figure out what we want this to look like long term, even if it has a long term. This also means that I'm going to have to bring my belts in on this far edge and make the turn so that it's kind of nice over the hole. So what are we missing? I think I'm missing getting the power up from the bottom. So take any one of these guys. And just bring it down to here. Now, I suppose I could bring all 4 of them down on each side and get a nice redundant set of power, but I am anxious to continue onward with this build. Do I have power out here now? I have power out here now. I can finish off protecting these guys up. So we need a total of 7 of these. We've got 2. I'm going to ignore the back one. The back one doesn't count for our 7. Okay, so from the bottom is working pretty good. Going to put the corners in here. We're going to get most of the way out to Big 6 before this is done, aren't we? That's 4. I can plop these in because I can get power from 1, 2, one more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That may be more than 7. Hold on. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the base of the bus. Got it. These are good. And yeah, I'm even going to put the nubs on the end here. If this foundation set turns out to be useful, it might get extended. There's a principle in software engineering called YAGNI. You ain't gonna need it. It means you don't build to expand like this until you're sure you're going to actually use it. I believe that YAGNI is a valid concept, and I believe it is a useful thing, a good idea to follow it, and yet I violate it time after time after time. Part of that is my inclination to always design things so that I can expand in the future, anticipating that I'm going to need to expand in the future. Which means that sometimes I set things up to be expandable when they don't need to be. Now, one example of this that is endemic in the software engineering industry, pardon me if I do a little bit of software engineering talk in the middle of this satisfactory, there's the idea of interacting with objects and always accessing the properties of those objects via a function call. In other words, getters and setters. So, for instance, if you have an object representing a complex number, you might get its real part and get its imaginary part. Or you might get its angle and its length if you are thinking polar coordinates. Now, if you always use the getters and setters, it means that in the long run, the internal representation can be any way you want, and the getter and the setter may have to do additional work to update the state of the object. And you can make that change anytime you want within your implementation, and all your callers are using getters and setters, so they don't actually look at internal state. So that decouples your internal state from your external API. This is generally considered to be a really good idea. Now, go and ask the engineers that are building these things, when is the last time that you went into a mature system with getters and setters, and all the getters and setters are just getting and setting the internal state? When's the last time you actually inserted code into getters and setters? Any getters and any setters? And I will tell you that across my career, I can't say my whole career has interacted this way, but I'd say out of 40 years, a good quarter of it, I was dealing with systems where getters and setters were a real thing and were really useful. And even though they were really useful, I think over that entire time, I only had one or two instances where we actually went to a working module and inserted code in the getters and setters, other than basic, really, really basic debugging stuff. Debugging stuff, by the way, which you could have done with a debugger and capturing loads and stores to that field. So, in my opinion, the idea of, as a matter of course, always using getters and setters for every internal thing is over-engineering. Especially when your getters and setters are exposing internal state that nobody outside of your class needs to use. So, for instance, let's if you've got some state that only is important inside the class and might change. If you have a getter that says get foo, and the foo state is, it might not even be a thing in different implementations. Why do you have a public getter for it? Worse yet, if you've got a public setter, why do you have a public setter for internal state? You have now, in the name of decoupling the internal state from the API, you have tangled your state. You have tangled your implementation into the external API by having this state called foo. So, the other thing is, if you've got 10 bits of state and you've got 10 getters and 10 setters, modern software engineering basically says you want decent code coverage on your tests. So you don't have tests that are testing that your getters and setters are getting and setting. Entirely valid to put in if you're doing things like complex numbers where the state update isn't trivial. But if the state update is trivial, for goodness sake, especially if it's a trivial update of internal state only accessed within the class, just do it. Anyway, that's my rant. So we now have manufacturing floor layout. We have a vertical bus, which I will populate with belts when we move things into it. And what I want to do is I want to put the drone ports not above these guys, but out here. In fact, I am going to put it, I'm going to put a drone stand centered on those two. And these are actually going to be the drone stands for the fuel, I think. Put fuel on each side. This means that we're going to have one fuel and 11 active for ingredients on each side. And that's the minimum offset. I think, now it's time for us to set up our blueprint for our our drone ports. Now I'm just going to clip the drone ports together. We will be arranging for power to move along these guys, but other than that, they will have the hypothetical future thruster plate thingy underneath them. So what I want to do is build a drone port that goes on top of here, like this. I'm going to set it up with a base plate. So we want a 1 meter floor. If we want a 1 meter floor on top of this, this needs to be 3 meters. Or I could just use the 4 meters like this. What I'd really like is something like this, where we have the floor here, where we're running our fuel around, and then a floor above that. What do I have to do to get that to work? Well, I have to set it up so that I can put the drone port in here and then slide this guy in underneath. So we're going to remove this. So it's put a foundation in. We're going to remove the blueprint. So our drone port will be placed on top of here, and then we'll put in our power pillar, just like we did at the lower level here. So this same pillar will go up here. In fact, it might be a good idea to move these pillars out one. Nah. Same thing over here. Okay, so our drone port will go on top of here. And then we will spread them out so there'll be 6 long by 2 wide on each side. So now we need to blueprint the drone port, which is made a 5x5 blueprint. So first step is, what do we have available? I want the base plate minus corners, but I don't want anything underneath it because this is going to be totally underneath. So let's start off with let's see here. One of these guys. Too bad I didn't save one of these out that had no big centerpiece. So what I want to do now is just copy this down. So this top part is really only acting as a, well, I don't know, wait a minute, that might actually be good to keep around. Okay, so if I get the same shape below, oh, as we stripe these out, this is going to be, yeah, we're just going to do a normal floor down here. So this is really a 4x4 1 meter foundation, which is going to be nice and clean, nothing below it. And then our 4x4 with the corners clipped, onto which we're going to put our drone port. The drone ports, let's see, if the front end here is toward the elevator, what I want the drone ports to have is I want their loadings thing to be up that direction. But I do want to be within the 5x5. So let's center it here. Is that about right? So if I center it here, this is our 4x4, which is providing support for the top plate. So fuel we can have striped forward, front to back like that. And return stuff, we've got space for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, barely. Oh, it's coming out here. Okay, what I'll do is I will turn this over and I'll bring it down there. And that will leave me with all of this space to have a bus coming out that way. So fuel and output. Now there is one of our stations that is going to be doing the packaged nitrogen. I will need to think about whether I want to run the empties back up to that station or not. And if I do, I will do something special here on that instance of the station. These are active drone ports. They're all set. I am going to put that on there. I'm going to put a splitter on here. Whoops. Needs to come from this direction, which means this guy. Actually, let's bring it over here. I don't need to clip it into the support because it's running on top of that. So we're going to bring the fuel in here, go through here, split off half the fuel for him, and send the rest onward. This guy is going to come down this way, and he will come out here and make a turn and go out that way. I need to put supports in here for the lines coming through to kind of nail down where they are. Just going to put poles in at the midpoint. Edge, one from the edge, actually, middle, 3, 4. So that would give us 5 lanes. And we zoop from here. We just stretch the belts along. This guy would come out of here and make his turn and go out that way. Actually, if I put these out on the edge here, or close to it, that might actually be better. Yeah, that's better. Now, I am resisting putting in walls with holes because you end up with a lot of walls that have holes that aren't filled unless you decide you're going to explicitly go one in the middle and then you switch them to the right and one on the other side and then you bring them into the middle. You can do all sorts of weird things, but I'm just going to do that. So when we place this down, our first job is to hook this guy up to the right lane and then connect the rest of the lanes on through to there and then delete the poles. So next thing, power. Your power comes down approximately here. Now, I think this actually works best on half meters, so we're going to actually put a power line in on the lower level. And it's going to be half a meter toward the input from that square. In this direction, it's a half a meter from the middle out that direction. Let me get this set really firmly in my mind. So there. So from this edge, it would be 8, 11.5 meters in. Actually, if I put it anywhere that's even close to that, but on the half-half, we're good. We need to put it in with one of these so we can go with the half-meter alignment. Did I get that in the right place? We're going to go up above it, point straight down, and that is aligned. And that's aligned. So see, as I go over it, it's aligned perfectly there, and as I go over it, it's aligned perfectly there. Now from this pole, I can bring it down to here, and that diagonal wire is entirely within the superstructure. Yay! So we've now run our power, and we can now connect the power up to any of these, and we're good. Let's see, this is drone port with foundations. Oop. There is our drone port. Save blueprints. Let us put them in place now. Drone port with 5x5 foundations. So we're going to put that on a hot button, let's say 9. And it needs to go right dead center onto here. And same thing over here. Did I get power under there? I'll have to check power in a moment. Okay, so we can take away these 4x4 foundations now. And we want to put in place our support pillar, which has power on it. We're still in default mode because I do not trust that blueprint mode will let me do what I want properly. It might connect it at the top and move the whole pillar down by 1/4 of a meter or something. Huh. I'd forgotten that I had done that. Yeah. So So we do need one more here. Well, at least I got them at the same level, right? I got them at the same level, didn't I? So we're just under the top plate and just under the top plate. Good. So this is fuel. So I will be doing something different with him once I get him done. And now we just need to put in the other ones. And I'm going to see if I can place them all at once. So blueprint mode, make sure it's rotated in the right direction. He's rotated the wrong way. No, he's not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these guys. Let's get the power connected up to that one before we go for the outboard. So this guy can go next. Why you do this to me? What do I have to do to get this blueprint to clip in right? There. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, power. Power should be easy for these guys. Now, among other things, I now have a floor I can walk on. So if I didn't have power, that'd be cool. I could just deal with it. So we're just going to run through here. And there we go. There's half our drone ports done already. Now I should be able to just plop it out there from here. Alas, it does not let me do that. There. More drone ports. So notice, just the drone ports alone are already chewing up 1.2 gigawatts. So our little fancy down here is not going to be enough power for this entire thing by many, many, many times. So at this point, I am going to hook up the main power to this side of this switch. So we now have two alien power thingies on here. We have increased our power boost significantly. But notice that our max consumption is, in perilous territory. I'll put it that way. These guys should now have, oh, the switch is turned off. Durr. I can leave the switch turned on, right? Right. Switch is turned on. So why don't you have power? You have power. Did I not hook these guys up? I didn't hook these guys up. And you still don't have power because I didn't hook these up either. Oh my, I have been... Yeah, I thought I was missing a whole bunch of connections. Forgot to put the corner post in. Oh well. I can refit the corner post in later if I want it. Are we done yet? We got power. Yay! Why are you still red? You still no power. Oh, because each one of these, well, one of them needs to be connected downward. Right. And everybody lights up green on this side. Probably the same thing here. Boop-a-doo, and down here. That's fine. Those are set. 6 more. See, that one just clipped in nicely. Why is it that sometimes it's really nice and sometimes I have a heck of a time getting it to line up? There we go. Now, where does it make the most sense to bring fuel in? I think here, so I can take this fuel and supply it to this row and then bring it across and supply it to that row. Ruh-roh, we have belts coming this way. So this fuel is going to have to go up and over and back down to supply there. And I want to do it in such a way that it doesn't interfere with this. Well, these guys are going to come out and down. Maybe I run it underneath here. That's not actually a bad idea. Okay. Well, let's actually get you moving some fuel for me. Drone fuel for what am I calling this again? What do they call it? Final production? Phase 4 delivery line. I'm going to start abbreviating that to P4. So we are going to need a couple stacks of fuel. And we want to send you package fuel load. So this is, yeah, no, this is turbo fuel. So drone fuel, north, south, east, west. So people are using north, south, east, west, southeast. Let's tick these guys north and west on these two guys. So this will take from north. Hey, you. Go start filling up the fuel, okay? Can you do that for me? Yeah, you can do that for me. So you're going to come in from here. And actually, I'm going to leave you pointed that direction. We're just going to make a turn. Like this. I'm going to come out to this line. Going to put a splitter here. And then I'm going to run you under the floor. And you're going to come all the way over to here. You're going to come up and make the turn to start fueling those guys. I don't need supports or anything. These are nice and close. So there's my fuel stitch. So this is going to cost us 19 fuel per trip, which will bring us, hopefully, roughly 9 stacks of fuel each time once we get steady state. So this is actually P4 north. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I will use this one, again, so he can just come straight across. It said it was going to be west on this one. I need to rename that port. Actually, all ports. So we're going to share fuel with nitrogen. That's okay. I don't believe it. We are out of portable miners in our dimensional depot. Excuse me for a second while I make a whole bunch of those. I keep meaning to automate it. Come on, O. It's interesting that you do O, it doesn't automatically put your keyboard input in there. So we could automate this. We'd have to unlock the recipe though. I'm not sure what goes into that recipe. I don't want to look at it. So, excuse me for a second while I get this going. So if I'm going to use a lot of drones in the phase 5 work, I may want to automate miners and get them into the depot, even though it's going to be like, it's going to store 5 full stacks of miners. Good God. Yeah, okay, so 30 miners should be enough. Let's just toss those into the depot. There we go. You have fuel, you've already grabbed fuel, you already have your schedule set up, so you need to go get me fuel, right? Right, little moth? And now we need to set this up same way we did the other one. So splitter here on this line. Oops. Do him first. So we notice that we have one load of fuel already here. So I need to hook up the fuel to the rest of these guys. That's going to be quick. We're just going to be running the belt down to connect these up. I'm going to do it on default just because I'm being lazy right now. And it's going to take a bit before we have steady state on the fuel in these guys. So it's good to get this done early. So I've got a, it doesn't really show, but I'm actually fairly excited that we are closing in on finally finishing phase 4. As I never actually finished up phase 4 properly in my earlier builds during early access. If I hit the end of the game, it makes it less exciting for me to go back and experience the game again. So it kind of left something for me. Things changed radically, and that's good. So I probably could have finished up the game during early access and not been spoiled for anything here, but I might have not wanted to come back to it quite so soon. We don't know what these guys are going to be sending us, but as long as we're up here, let's get everything routed. Come on. There. This is fuel. So we've got 5 lines coming down here, and they're going to wrap all the way out to the edge, become a vertical bus, and out here. This one, I need to step back a little bit. Actually, I need to get rid of all of these poles. Actually, I don't like the conveyor poles sitting out there like that. They don't look right to me. And we have our 5 lines. Oh, I shouldn't have gotten rid of the poles until I knew where these were. It's the normal location, so we're going to bring them down 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops. You're going to come down along here, make the turn, and meet up with this guy, which means I need to have something set up appropriately. Let's do another concrete slab out here. There we go. Okay. So over here, I can set up my stack. And we're using splitters for this. So the bottom 3 levels are blank, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are my 5 levels. I'm going to do this the easy way. Okay, so you're set. So bring each one down to the same length as the previous one, and then bring it up by 2 ticks. There we go. I am going to pause recording. I'm going to have some lunch. What I will do is I will set up the rest of these input buses using this mechanism. And when we come back, I should have the buses all connected up. Nothing on them. I think I'm just going to run the belts out while I have lunch. And I will come back in the next recording with that all done. So there's part 1, where we build no machines, but we build a lot of foundations.